Everybody in. Today's episode is going to be such a special one. Thrilled to be with you. All right, we are now live broadcasting. If you're listening to the podcast, we're grateful that you are here as well. Thrilled about today's episode to introduce you to someone who's become a very dear friend of mine, someone who thinks so much like I think, someone who is so much my superior in this topic, somebody who's going to blow your mind on what it takes to get more referrals from fewer people. If you're in this market and you're like many agents, feeling like you have to work harder to get to where you want to go, maybe there's a different approach. Maybe there's a way for you to just work smarter. Today's episode is going to teach you that relative to getting more referrals from a source you're probably not totally tapping into. So stay with us, folks. This episode is going to be a special one. The big question is this: how do those of us in the real estate industry with crazy amounts of ambition, how do we think bigger than the building of our own empires? How do we simultaneously seek success and significance, income and impact? My name is Justin Stoddard, and this is the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. Welcome back, everybody. Thrilled to be with you. Let me share with you a quick story. It was several months ago, and I got the opportunity to speak at an event. And the individual who had organized the event, her name's Shantae, absolutely wonderful individual. And she had shared with me some of the other topics that were going to be shared. One of them sounded very similar to my topic, the one that I love to talk about around the upstream model. But she assured me that there'd be no conflict. We got there. This gentleman spoke right before me. He did such a good job. I literally had 3 pages of notes on a topic that I love. I learned so much from him. I got the ability to speak after him. I don't know that I added anything, but I sure met a dear friend at that point, and I'm excited to introduce him to you. His name is Don Yoakum. So let's just start with that. Don, welcome to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show.
Well, thank you, and appreciate being here. And it's been a great few months getting to know you, Justin. And you said that I was your superior in this subject, and I'm going to say that you're the first person that I met that I believe may know more on this subject than me. So thank you. But I'm not.
Well, together we're a good combo. We'll leave it at that. For those that don't know Don, he's the founder of Pro Insight, which is a coaching company that you're going to be hearing a lot about here before long. A little background on Don. In 1990, he got into the real estate business. His very first year in business, sold 51 homes. So you know that he has some expertise in selling real estate. In 2000, he was appointed the opportunity to be a Keller Williams team leader, and he quickly took one marketplace and took it to be the most profitable KW marketplace in the entire world. That's impressive. After that, he built 9 more KW market centers. So needless to say, he knows how to not just sell real estate, he knows how to build business and how to build people. A man after my own heart. In 2010, he began really teaching this topic of how to really get more referrals from your professional network. And anyway, excited to have you here, Don. What a backstory, which has now led you to this point where we have again, a lot in common and a topic that you've mastered, in my opinion. And I'm really excited to spend some time with you and share with the audience a couple things. Number one, going in depth on this topic of how to really get referrals from professional sources. And I want everybody that's listening here today to pay very close attention, because not only are you going to learn about this particular topic and how this can absolutely transform your business, but more importantly, how there may be a way that might be the right fit for you to actually step into a relationship and help us to coach on this topic. And so stay tuned for that. If you've ever wanted to coach people, if you've ever wanted to say, you know what, I want to become master of something and then absolutely pour into the lives of other people, Don is building something that may create just that opportunity for you. So Don, I'm going to pull up the slides here. I want everyone to know and to see and really have an illustration about what it is that, that we're talking about. So let's go ahead. Can you see this? Okay. I think you probably can.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, perfect.
Big old bale of hay.
A big old bale of hay. Now, what in the world would a big bale of hay, Don, have to do with referrals in today's real estate market?
Well, first of all, I just want to address that there's a lot of amazing trainers in our industry. And the message that I believe the majority of them are giving our professionals is we need you to recognize that we have a corrected market and that you're going to have to improve your skills and do more. And I think there's a sense right now that the things that we've been doing are not creating the same result. And what it feels like, and the reason why, and I borrowed this from you, that we've got a bale of hay here is it feels like you're looking for a needle in a haystack. And what I don't want to be told is, hey, I've got to go through more haystacks to look for that very rare needle, that qualified buyer or seller. Okay, but that's what I'm being told. And the message that and I know you want to bring to the marketplace is there's another way.
Yeah.
And so what I'd prefer is for them to be able to just go to a pincushion and pull out a needle, a qualified buyer or seller that they can then serve. And so obviously the numbers around that are much better. The effort required is far less, and it's doing business in a more relational based way. So the way that is enabled, however, is by engaging with, networking with professionals that are involved in life events.
And Don,
So
let me stop you here for just a minute, because
yeah, go
I
ahead.
don't know if everybody recognizes how valuable of an insight you just shared there. Is that while you're sorting through the hay, doing what all the great trainers have taught you to do, right? Which works. Don and I will attest, it
No,
works to go
for
the
sure.
traditional routes. But while you're sorting through hay, I would argue that you're maybe giving up some things in life. Like that sorting through the hay is taking the place of maybe time with family, maybe time working on your health, maybe time working on your spiritual life, maybe time working on your financial life. Like there's certain things, there's an opportunity cost to sorting through hay, right? It's not that it doesn't work, it does. But what if you could, right? What if you could get there faster? What if you could find those people faster? And I love that message so much, and I know you do too.
No, 100%. No, you're spot on there. And so this is how you could. This is how you, and I just want to point out that in real estate, there are certain events that occur in people's lives that are precursors or trigger events for buying or selling a home. It's people being born, they're graduating, they're getting married or promoted or transferred or perhaps divorced. These are all life events. Now we'll look at a particular one, someone getting married, and we'll look at who are the professionals involved in that event. Well, naturally a wedding planner, but also you've got a venue manager, you've got a photographer, you've got a cake decorator, and someone, a florist. And there's even a few more. I think, you'd have a caterer, you'd have a DJ, and so forth. The point, though, is that each and every one of these professionals has contact with a consumer that is likely to buy or sell, and maybe both, a piece of real estate and could introduce you. So these are the type of professionals that we want to help our professionals engage with, because they're involved in life events these people need, right? So we're not in a period of the real estate market where people are doing a lot of casual buying and selling and investing. We're helping and serving people that have a need to move at this time.
Well, I think that's the big difference between a bale of hay and a pincushion, right? Is that a pincushion means that these professionals are acutely aware that someone is going to have a need, whether it be death, whether it be birth, right? Whether it be marriage, whether it be divorce, whether it be promotion, whether it be demotion. Like each one of these life events is such a precursor, not only for the real estate agent, but so many other professionals, that when you properly connect them all together, it's amazing how much value you can bring to one another in bringing each other's pincushions, right? And saying, hey, this person's ready to go. This person's ready to go, instead of sorting endlessly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when somebody wants to do business in this manner, one of the first things that we ask them to do is look at themselves and ask, are you referable, right? Do you show up on time? Do you do what you say? And in this point, by the way, do what you say. I want people to understand that when you do what you say, that gives you the opportunity to do business again with that particular consumer. Okay. The challenge that we have in real estate is that people only buy and sell about once every 10 years. Okay. So if you want to be introduced to the 150 people that they know, then you need to underpromise and overdeliver. And so for those folks, those listeners that are taking notes, I want you to write down, my referrals will be in proportion to the extent I exceed my clients' expectations.
Man, that's
Okay.
gold right there. Gold right there. My referrals will be, say that again, Don. That's such a nugget.
In proportion to the amount I exceed my clients' expectations. That's where raving fans come from.
Yeah. Where too many agents
Right?
are simply doing the minimum, right? What's expected of me so I could move on to the next client. Whereas when you look at it this way, you realize that every one of your clients will be the doorway to the next client if you exceed expectations enough.
100%. If people move every 10 years and they know 150 people, that's 15 opportunities to serve for that person that's going the extra mile. So this next one, do you finish what you start? You know, I got to tell you, this is a question that a lot of consumers are asking of you right now. Are they going to stick? The market's tough. Are they going to be able to make it through this correction? And if they don't believe that you're going to make it through, they're certainly not going to refer you.
Yeah.
Next, do you say please and thank you? And not by text or email, of course, that's very common. What we want you to do, actually, Justin, you taught me, I should go back and look at my notes, that you taught me a phrase early this morning, and it was something along the lines of common behavior creates common income, and uncommon behavior creates extraordinary income. So I want to thank you for that quote because it really resonated with me. And in this case, where I want to specifically encourage people is, are you saying please and thank you in a personalized handwritten note? If you're not, please do, because it's meaningful to people. Okay, next, are you the best at something? So according to NAR, number one reason why people will choose us as a realtor is that they trust us. The number two reason is local market knowledge. So what do you know better than anyone else? And there's different areas of expertise. You could have a geographic specialist. You could have a demographic niche. I've got plenty of friends that serve the military first responder niche, for example. Or you could even have a property specific niche like condominiums. Or, you know, I have a good buddy that used to be the duplex king, and he had that on his license plate. It was really fun. But and by the way, he's retired now, so that should be a tip that could be good for you. But
Well,
the
and I think,
point here, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt you, Don, but I think one really interesting component of this is when we look at those life events, or if you look through that whole kind of spread of all the different places where people are needing to buy, needing to sell, which again is our ticket to finding people who are highly motivated in this market. And then we ask ourselves, how do we find those people? It's through these other professionals. Choosing what you're the best at can very much align with one of these life transitions. For example, first-time home buyers, people downsizing, right? People relocating. That choose a specialty that really aligns with something that's always going to be in need regardless of the market, and you'll find that you always have plenty of stuff to market, right?
100%. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And when the key here is when people think of that one thing, we want them thinking of you, right? When they're thinking of real estate in Canby, I know you're not practicing, but if you were, we would want them thinking of Justin.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So here's a quote, also worth writing down. Your net worth will determine your net worth. And when you're looking to build your net worth, one of the first things that we will do is we take people through a positioning exercise. It's actually a 16 box grid, and it's on a spectrum from highest price to lowest price, and from a transactional delivery approach to a relational approach. And so we end up helping professionals to determine where they are on these 16 box grid. And by the way, there's no wrong answer. I've seen companies succeed in any one of the 16 boxes. The point, though, is you need to understand where you are, and that the professionals with whom you align are not more than one box away. If we take someone that is accustomed to a Ritz-Carlton experience, they're not going to be comfortable having their taxes done by H&R Block, right? So we want to make sure that the people that you are referring with and introducing to your customers, that they are providing, and ideally, like me, like myself, you want to be a kind of a person that has married up, okay? You want a professional that is as good or better than you, ideally, right? And then next is we want somebody that is relationship based. There's transactional agents. By the way, the top agents in every metro market are transactional agents. And I'm sorry to say, but in most cases, the consumer is going to feel like a number in a system, a cog in a wheel. And that's not the kind of person that's going to be an extraordinary networker. We want somebody that provides a superior, intimate customer experience. And finally, we want somebody with a growth mindset. I've particularly found this to be true with CPAs. You could have a phenomenal CPA, but if they're not looking to grow their practice, they'll make a very mediocre networking partner.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're going to embrace this approach and you want to build a network of professionals, you would want to assemble your community. And we have generally found that this is best achieved by aligning two like-minded realtor and lenders. And it seems it's not always the case that the lender will have more relationships with professional affiliates like CPAs, financial advisors, attorney, insurance broker. And the realtor will tend to have more relationships with the vendors that are trigger events for listing a home. So what does somebody do right before they list a home? How do they improve their home? They paint it, they landscape it, they remodel it. By the way, the realtors that I train in this system get 3 to 4 listings a year just from their painter because they taught them one question, which we're going to teach these guys here in a few minutes.
Which is
Okay?
fascinating you say that because I actually coach an individual who used to be a painter, and he's now a real estate agent, a successful one. And he said one out of every no, it was, yeah, 1 out of every 6 homes that are being painted are doing so because they're getting ready to sell, right? So you might be thinking that like, oh, all of my business from professionals is going to come from a financial advisor or a CPA, when you may be overlooking the very contractors. I know someone that I coach personally. There we go. He said that he had 2 slam dunk listings in 3 weeks from an HVAC contractor. So again, sometimes we overlook how many people are around us that are in the conversation with the consumer already just before they need us, and that's really the beauty of this system.
Absolutely. Yeah. So some of the key asset-based professionals that you would want to align with, you can display them there. Someone that does homeowners insurance, a financial planner, attorneys. By the way, there's multiple attorneys: bankruptcy, divorce, and estate are 3 of them. Probate would be another. We've talked about CPAs. By the way, CPAs are probably the most influential professional of the lot. You just have to make sure you have one that is interested in growing. And now moving on to the realtor trigger events. So these are things, what does somebody do right before while they're preparing their home for sale? They engage a landscaper, a property manager, senior advisor. If you don't recognize that term, that's the people that they're actually brokers placing people into assisted living, remodeling, painting, of course, we've spoken to, tree trimming, flooring, roofer. These are all trigger events. And so you want to have a relationship with each and every one of them. And what's really wonderful about those in particular is they will typically unearth a listing as opposed to a buyer. But it just so happens when people list their homes for sale, they don't tend to go homeless after that. So you might get a buyer as well, if not a
Bummer.
referral to another market, right? All right. So what you're seeing here are these core professionals that make up a network. And one of the things that we understand is that each and every professional has a client base as well as a sphere of influence. A good term to write down is I'm going to turn my database into a data bank. And that will benefit not only myself, but my networking partners. And so we help them to understand the math around that. I believe in the next slide. Oh, no, first, before we show them the math, we teach them about the importance of the questions to unearth that. And so again, another good quote to write down, you'll be judged by the quality of questions that you ask. And the questions that we want to teach the asset-based professionals, Justin is operating the slides for me, so I'm trying to predict how quick he's going to click them.
I'll put them all out here.
At any rate, no, go back though, if you wouldn't mind, Justin. Okay, so as an asset-based professional, the question we want to teach them, this is definitely worth writing down. It'll get you 4 to 6 deals a year just from a CPA if they'll do it. Do you plan to buy or sell in the coming tax year? That would be how a CPA would ask it. As an insurance broker that has 500 clients, they would simply just, after they've done their kind of farmers friendly review and tried to upsell you with their annual review, they would just say, oh, by the way, Justin, how are you like in your place? Are you settled in there a while? Which of course is code for, are you going to sell your home this year, right?
So let's use a couple of examples there really quickly, because I think this is fascinating for people to get their head around the magnitude of the opportunity. Don, what is the average CPA? Like, how many clients do they have?
500.
Okay, so 500, and using the fact that people will move every 10 years, which I think is very conservative, that means there are 50 transactions. And I learned this from you that day we met. There are 50 potential moves, which could equate to 2 sides, right? Somebody buys and sells from one move. There's as many as 100 transactions happening that CPA could refer if they were properly trained how to simply ask that one question. Fascinating, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And by the way, that's only primary residences. That doesn't take into account income property or second homes.
Right. And then you think about insurance. I know we did a deep dive on that inside Think Bigger Real Estate. We went deep talking with insurance agents, and they have way more clients than a CPA, right? Upwards of 1,000 times, but let's say between 750 and 1,000. Using those same numbers, right? That's 75 potential moves within, right? Primary residential moves. And they're again having, if they're good, if they're the right professional, right? They're having consultative conversations and they want to talk about real estate because it gives them an opportunity to upsell, cross-sell, and be sure that their people are properly insured. So this isn't a burden upon people. We're giving them an opportunity to talk
Quite
about
the
something that they want to talk about.
contrary.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I would say that, like in the case of CPA, how would a CPA help a client mitigate their taxes if they didn't know about the event until after it occurred?
Yeah.
Right?
Really well said.
And as an insurance broker, don't I want to know about if a client's going to make a move? Because they're canceling that old policy, by the way.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And so there's some great opportunities, and this is the math behind it. If you've got a network of 12 people and they just have an average of 200, I use 200 here because that's kind of the minimum standard for what I would consider somebody that you should include in your network. But as we just said, there are some that have 500. I've actually personally coached an insurance agent that had 3,000. Obviously, they had to have somebody make those calls for them, but you can train those people as well. At any rate, with 12 people with 200 each, you have 2,400 homeowners. If they move every 10 years, it's 240 opportunities a year. And you're not going to get all of those because some of them will be, rightly so, tied to other real estate professionals. But can you get 10%? I think so. So in other words, if you will embrace this strategy and you will form a local network, you could have 2 transactions a month.
Yeah. And I think that's extremely conservative, frankly, based on what I've seen.
So one of the things that we have found that can be challenging for professionals is training them. And actually, you and I have developed a training that we're going to talk about very briefly to educate professionals on how to uncover the opportunities for each other. But remember, we talked about these databases of all the professionals. Well, one thing that they can do to leverage that is they can be on an expert panel event, a Zoom event, for example, and they can all promote out to their databases. And so a hot topic right now is the economy. Inflation is crazy high, interest rates are on the climb, and people are really concerned. Is this war going to affect us on top of everything else? And so having an economic panel with a realtor, a lender, financial advisor, and maybe some other qualified professional would be a fantastic panel, be very timely right now.
Yeah, you can
Uh,
imagine bringing people together, right, in our virtual environment, and how much value you could add to them by simply organizing these. Right, these are the ideas, you guys, that are that Don has created. And again, stay tuned for the end of what we're going to share here. There's an opportunity for you to not only be able to kind of step into this ecosystem, this platform, but it's also going to give you the ability to potentially teach these same concepts to a much larger audience. So just want to keep you on task here, that there's some really exciting stuff coming here.
so, in addition to the economic panel, a expert panel is another thing. Like I helped one of our agents I facilitated the panel for him to do a event where we did how to buy a second home and turn it into an Airbnb. We had 35 people on the call. It was fantastic, and it has meant a couple deals for him, which is also wonderful. Finally, we teach those community of professionals how to hold an effective mastermind. And one of the things that we encourage them to do as a group is to read a book a quarter. And so you can, I think, flip to the next slide that features a few books. Endless Referrals was one of my favorite that got me going on this. And then, come on, one more click. All right. My now favorite book is The Upstream Model, which of course Justin wrote. And uh, if my wife were here, she would tell you that I was reading his book in Maui, and I got to page 56, and I saw that introduction of by text from the interior designer to the architect, and I thought, whoa, I could learn some things from this guy. So it's a book that even somebody that's been teaching this subject since 2010 on a very regular basis should pick up this book, because I learned from it. And so those are all good. But point is that we have these community of professionals reading a book a quarter that they discuss and attempt to implement.
Next time I'm going to make Don take me to Hawaii, not just my book to Hawaii. You hear that, everybody?
Well, they're doing that event again in February next year. So remind me. One of the things that Justin and I have done is we are collaborating, as he has alluded, on a training, a 12-hour training, goes over 4 days, 3 hours a day, on how to become a master of professional networking. And we're doing this in conjunction with Success Coaching. They're pictured as the head coach of Success, Marcus Truman, who I hold in very high regard. Just really, actually, it's my personal coach now as well. But they're running a fantastic program there. And so Justin and I are very honored to be preparing material that will be coached by their coaches. And so that will be an opportunity for folks. And I know Justin mentioned that there's a coaching opportunity that could be afforded you if you have the aptitude for this. You could join us on one of these two events. You can click those dates so that people can see what's available. Justin and I actually are teaming up to do 2 trainings in April. This is a training that normally is $599, and we're doing these 2 complimentary. And so if you would like to get involved in the one that goes from April 5th to April 12th, or the second one there featured in yellow from the 19th, to the 26th, get a hold of Justin and let us know that you'd like to go through. And just to be clear, you can go through as a professional that wants to form a community. So you may be a lender or a realtor that's saying, yeah, I want to do this. Or if you want to be a coach, let us know that as well. In either case, it would be complimentary to you, and we'd love to have you.
That's pretty
I
exciting.
should mention, by the way, that the first course is virtually full. So do not delay because we won't be able to get to you in otherwise. Finally, I just leave you with this thought. If you didn't write this down when you saw this quote the first time, please do so now. But your net worth will be determined by your network. And today, more than ever, we're seeing that having these valuable relationships are so crucial to people being able to have a healthy and profitable referral business. And so I just hope that they learned something today that they could apply to their business. And if they want to become a master of this approach, then join us in April or some future date. But geez, Justin, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, Don, it's been such a pleasure. As I mentioned when we started, this topic has become a deep passion and near mission for both you and I for a number of reasons. We know that it works. It's how we build our businesses now. But just as important, we see the benefit to people in being able to build a business, a successful business that still leaves time for significance. I know everybody that's listening to this, that you have things outside of your real estate business that are more important. Yet sometimes those things take a back seat because you're doing so much sorting through haystacks looking for those needles. And I'm telling you, what Dawn has put together here is exciting for, again, not just the agents that are going to be involved in it, but all the professionals around them that are going to be able to level up their game. Again, Don and I are pouring our combined knowledge and resources into this training that, again, Success Coaching is going to take to the world. And we would love to, again, to have you be a part of that, not only to listen in to see how you can build out your network and potentially join something that will be very special, but also potentially, if again, as Don mentioned, if you're the right aptitude and have a heart for coaching and have wanted to pursue that as an opportunity, again, reach out to me. I have the different places on social media where you can reach out to me. Just send me a direct message. I'd be more than happy to engage with you and talk more specifics about what it looks like to apply for that. Don, I want to ask you one more question, which is a question I ask everybody that comes across the Think Bigger Real Estate stage, which is this. You are a big thinker. I've learned that about you in here just a few weeks of getting to know you, a few months of getting to know you. Been so impressed by just the way your mind works. What is it that Don Yoakum does to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities and think bigger and bigger? What does it look like for you?
Well, it's a strategy that I would say I first learned from my dad, which was to always be looking for how I could improve. And I've generally found the answer to be held by the people that have gone before me. And so what I'm always looking for is how can I get to know and get in relationship with people that are doing what I want to do. And that would actually be my encouragement to your listeners is that, not everybody can afford a coach right now. It's pretty tough out there. And that in my mind would be a really great thing to do if you're really a big thinker. I have two at the moment because I think bigger, right? But even if you can't afford a coach, get yourself a support and accountability partner. Make sure they're in a referral market to you, and make sure that they're doing today what you want to do. So if you're a new agent, make sure they're doing a deal a month. If you're doing one, make sure they're doing two. If you're doing two, make sure they're doing three, right? And so we just want somebody that can maybe help us navigate the inevitable potholes that we would encounter in our journey and perhaps avoid one or two, right? And that being said, I want you to know that, the journey is not one without scrapes and bruises, okay? You mentioned a bunch of accolades about things that I have achieved, and that did not come without a lot of failure, okay? I had to be willing to face failure and take responsibility for the actions that got me into that situation and hopefully learn, and so that I could um, have a better experience going forward. So just understand if you don't master something in the beginning, remember one of the rules of referability is that um, are you going to be there? Can we count on you to be able to get up off the mat and go again? That's the kind of person that we're interested in doing business with and would be open to referring.
I love it, Don. Such wise words from a man again who's done some incredible things in his life. Did I mention to everybody that Don at one point was the best windsurfer in the world. He's been on the Olympic team multiple times. Anyway, that's just a side note. That's a topic for another conversation. But this man is accomplished in all areas of life, has a wonderful family. And Don, such a pleasure. Thank you for helping us to think bigger today. I really appreciate you more than you know. And
thank you, Justin.
To everybody listening today, my final request is this: go think bigger. Don, thanks for helping us do that today, my friend.
Thank you.
Be honest, hearing good ideas is not enough. You have to apply them in order to get the results desired. If you found value in today's episode, then you're really going to love the community of big thinkers and high achievers that we are building in order to help you to apply the principles taught today. If you're not yet a member of Think Bigger Real Estate on Facebook, go sign up now.